So in all the previous video we had discussed about hydrology. So hydrology plays a very significant role in understanding the irrigation projects or to plan the irrigation projects. So the first part of this subject or this course was to discuss the hydrological part. And the second part would be to discuss more specifically the engineering aspect of our water resource management, that is irrigation engineering. So let us start. Let us quickly know what all we study in the fourth module of irrigation engineering part. So I'll try to introduce you to the irrigation engineering. After that, we'll discuss about the water requirements for crops. Okay. So as we know, the fifth module would be to design the canals. Okay. First, let us go to the introduction of irrigation. So we all know what irrigation is. Irrigation is basically applying the artificial water when there is a scarcity of water. You know that the agriculture is one of the modern techniques that was invented. There are several revolutions that are taken place in human history. We call agriculture as one of the human history. So we all know, we had studied in our childhood that basically human or Homo sapiens were hunters and gatherers. They never settled at any particular place. So the settlement or the townships or villages emerged by the invention of the agriculture system, because before that, to seek the food or to seek the supply of food for the humans, they used to wander from one place to other place. With the invention or with development of agriculture, human could settle at a particular place. So as we know, if you try to account all the major cities in the past or in the present also, they were situated next to a major river. Like you know that Egyptian civilization was thrived on the banks of Nile River. Now similarly, most of our civilization, if you go to Indian civilizations, we can see that Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are settled across the river banks of Sindh River. And we know that most of our major cities of North India as well as the South India also, they are settled at the banks of the major river, that is Ganga. So we know that with the past experience or understanding the history, uh, water plays a predominant role, and irrigation or agriculture facilitated humans to settle at a particular place. Now then in our age, there is a new technique that was developed, or we can say that a new aid that was given to the agricultural system, that was irrigation. So irrigation is basically supplying an artificial water to the agricultural fields. Okay, so here irrigation is mostly designed and developed by the civil engineer itself. So we all know what all system is involved in an irrigation system. First thing is that we need to construct a dam across any major river, and the dam is going to store the water in the upstream side, and the water that is stored in the upstream side will be supplied to the irrigation fields through canals. And to facilitate the supply of water through the canals, we need to construct several hydraulic structures, like canal gates, and then intakes are there which will supply water. Then there are barrages, weirs, cross drainage works, several hydraulic works will be there. Hydraulic construction work should be there, will be there. So this is why irrigation becomes important for civil engineers to understand. So hydrology was to understand the water resources, and irrigation is to understand how to manage the water resources that is available on the earth. Okay, so this is what irrigation engineering is. Now let us briefly try to understand what is the necessity of irrigation. So as we know, agriculture is basically dependent on the rainfall. Whatever the rainfall happens, because of that, we will try to study the pattern of rainfall for any given years. So with all the historical data that we have, what farmers do is that they predict when the rainfall is going to happen. So before that, they sow the seed, and they'll use the supply that comes as a precipitation to their field, and by utilizing that, they grow the crops, and then they harvest, and we get the food produce, right? But as we know, because of climate change and because of several variabilities, we may get excess amount of water, that there can be a situation of flood, and then there can be a situation of drought. Okay, these are two extreme events. But whenever you know that there is an ample amount of rainfall, but the rainfall didn't happen at the peak growth of a crop, so there might be a chance that the crops may wilt or they may die. So whenever there is a crucial period of growth of a plant where we can improvise the yield or we can improvise the produce, so what we do is that we supply an artificial water. So whenever there is an insufficient rainfall, so we try to develop this irrigation system in that kind of areas and try to improvise the yield of the field. Okay, now there is one more thing that we need to understand is uneven and non-uniform distribution of rainfall. We know that the rainfall doesn't distribute uniformly across the space. It means what, if you try to I guess I have already explained this earlier. There are parts of region where there is little rainfall, and then there are parts of India where we have huge amount of rainfall. So this is what unequal distribution of water entire space. And then there is unequal distribution of water over the year also. Like for example, you may not get the rainfall for an entire year. Rainfall happens for a few months. Like for example, 4 months rainfall period is there, so which we call it as monsoon period. So in the monsoon period itself we grow most of our crops. So in order to avoid this uneven non-uniform rainfall distribution, what we do is we adapt to irrigation systems. Okay, next is improvement of perennial crops. If I give an example of perennial crop, it will be sugarcane. Sugarcane is grown for more than 9 months. Okay, so to grow a sugarcane we need to supply water for 9 months, which is greater than the duration of rainfall that happens in our country. So to supply water to such kind of perennial crops which are grown for an entire year, we need to adapt the irrigation system itself. Then to develop the desert area. So these are some of the basic necessities which are making us to adapt this irrigation system. Next, as I have already explained, while explaining the necessity, we have benefits of irrigation. What are those benefits of irrigation? These are being listed out. I'll just keep on reading and explain you that. Okay, first is yield of crop. Obviously by supplying artificial water, if there is no rainfall also, we can supply water in case of peak growth of any crop. So because of that, the yields will increase, the produce will increase, and it will benefit the farmer. Then optimum benefits. We are not supplying, when we supply artificially water, we are not supplying water in excess, or we are not supplying water in scarcity. So what we do is that we optimally supply the water. So because of that, with less amount of water or with optimum amount of water, we can produce large yields. Okay, we can create large number of yields. And elimination of mixed crop. This is a little controversial when it comes to agricultural background. All our previous thought after the green revolution was that we need to produce a single crop in an entire field. Okay, so that the produce increases or yield increases. So this was our thought, and this is the same which is also in the textbook, but I don't think this holds good at this particular mode of our knowledge with respect to agriculture. So if you ask any agriculture scientist, he would say that mixed cropping is the only way to improvise our agricultural fields or to maintain the health of our agricultural fields, and also that is a sustainable way for our ecology also. So this might be written as a benefit in all the textbooks, but right now we could be able to eliminate this as our benefit. Mixed cropping is not a good method of agriculture. Okay, but as we know, in the past we thought that monoculture or growing one single crop would create a lot of produce, would increase the yield of our produce. So this is what being written here as benefit. Other than that, prosperity of farmers, obviously because the increase of the yield, increase of produce, farmers will prosper. And sources of revenue. So if more and more farmers grow more and more cash crops, it will be beneficial for the government also, because it can collect a lot more taxes from the cash crops, whereas compared to the food crops, they get less amount of tax. So irrigation system would also improvise the source of revenue for the country. Then obviously we know hydroelectric power generation can be done. Then water can be supplied for irrigation as well as domestic and industrial needs also. And canals act as a communication between the different places. Like you might have seen, there are several people in several villages, people travel along the canal lines itself. Okay, so the canal lines become the communication means for most of the villages which are not connected by road. Okay, then navigation. Navigation is what an additional benefit that we may get from the canals, major canals that we construct. uh, we need to design the canals or waterways according to the necessity of navigation also. So but you can see that navigation through waterways began in the olden ages also. So if you can see, most of the European countries have the navigation system through which they supply the goods. And if you go to Kerala also, which is having more number of waterways in its state, so it also uses navigation as a means of transport there. Okay, so these can be some of the benefits. There are other benefits which have been accounted here, that is aesthetic view. It improves the aesthetic nature of the environment. You can also go for fishery in reservoirs and canals. Tree plantation, you can plant the trees along the banks of the canal. Protection from famine, if there is a famine or if there is extreme drought situation, the water that is supplied through the canals can be beneficial. Increase of groundwater level, as the water percolates. If the water is flowing in a canal, the water will also percolate into the ground, and it may increase the groundwater level. And it aids a civilization. A new civilization is born whenever the water flows from one point to other point. Then the nutrition of the population will increase, recreation will increase, social and cultural improvement will be there, and self-sufficiency of food. So irrigation improves the sufficiency or the requirement of any given region. Okay, so these are some of the benefits that we have, and we'll list out some of the ill effects of irrigation. So the ill effects of irrigation is increasing or raising the water table. I just counted increasing the water table as a benefit. Now again I'm saying that it is ill effect. So we need to understand the context of water table. Water table is basically the level of water that is beneath the surface of earth. If and basically, which is called as water logging also. This effects of raising water table is also called as water logging. What happens is, if the water level in the agricultural fields increases, and it increases within the root zone, so what happens is the crop's root will get wilted up. It means what, the root gets choked because of excess amount of water in the root zone. So because of that, our crop produce might reduce. You might have, ever uh, if you have ever spoke to any farmer, he will say that excess amount of water is also not beneficial for him, and scanty amount of water is also not beneficial for him. So what he expects is that there should be a optimum amount of water supply. So water logging or the increase of water table in the root zone might affect the crops also. Other than that, there are other problems that will be created because of excess raising of water table, that is mosquitoes, weeds, and then pests will increase. Because of that, the farm produce will get affected. So these are some of the effects of raising water table. Damp climate, as I told you earlier, because of increase of water table, entire climate will become damp. Because of that, there can be a rise in the health risks of the community. breeding of mosquitoes, loss of valuable land. So because of waterlogging, the valuable land might be lost, and there might be effect on the return of revenue, because we invest so much in an irrigation system. We need to construct dam, canals, supply through the canals, and there is a continuous maintenance for all these hydraulic structures. So the investment that we are making uh, may not may not be feasible in some of the cases. Okay, economically it not be a feasible condition, but we can consider it to be a social need, and because of that we can take up the project. Even if the government goes in loss, they need to go for such irrigation structure, irrigation systems or irrigation projects. Now, as we have understood what are necessities, benefits, and benefits of irrigation, the next thing would be to understand what are the methods of irrigation. What are the methods that we have for irrigation? So first there is flow irrigation, then there is a lift irrigation. We'll discuss about the lift irrigation later. Let us first try to understand what are the flow irrigation. So in flow irrigation there is perennial irrigation. Perennial irrigation is supplying the water for entire year through the canals. Then there is inundation or intermittent supply of irrigation. So we'll supply the water as a supplement. We'll supply water only when it is necessary for farmers. Farmers will take the help of the rainfall, and he tries to produce, but whenever the farmer faces scarcity of water, we'll supply water through canals as irrigation system, with our irrigation system. Because of that he might improve the produce. So these are two types of flow irrigation that we have. So in flow irrigation, one major thing that we need to understand here is we are not using any mechanical means to supply the water. So we don't use any mechanical aids, like there is no pump or anything to lift the water and supply to the fields. We basically use the gravity as a force to supply the water from our source to the requirement, wherever the requirement is there. Now let us try to look at some of the methods of irrigation. So the method of irrigation means how the water is being supplied to the farm. One thing you need to observe here is that we are trying to understand how farmers apply water to their fields. Okay, so there are basically three major methods. One is surface irrigation, after that sprinkler irrigation, and we have subsurface irrigation. So in surface irrigation, what we do is we supply water on the surface, as it says. Okay, so 90% of all the agriculture system is devised based on surface irrigation itself. Then there is sprinkler irrigation. So you might have seen what a sprinkler is. The water is supplied or applied to the field like it is imitating as if there is a rainfall. So there are sprinklers that are built. Those sprinklers will ooze the water. They'll pour the water on the top of all the plants. So sprinkler irrigation is adapted for a particular type of crops. So here what we need to understand is it might be surface irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, or subsurface irrigation. We need to apply, or we need to use any of this method based on the type of crop we have, based on the type of soil we have, based on the practices that are being done, and also economic aspect to be considered. Okay, so these are the points we need to understand before we are going to adapt any of the three methods. Okay, in surface irrigation, let us also discuss about subsurface irrigation. In subsurface irrigation, what we do is that we supply water directly to the root zone. We don't apply it at the top of the soil. Okay, so there are some crops where you need to supply water directly to the roots, or that might be a case to improvise the efficient use of our water. Okay, so these are the three general methods that we have: surface irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, and subsurface irrigation. So in surface irrigation there are n number of ways, n number of methods, but I have listed some of the basic and some of the majorly used methods of irrigation. One is free flooding, border flooding, check flooding, basin flooding, furrow irrigation method, and then drip irrigation method. So we'll go with one by one. Let us go with free flooding. What is a free flooding? So this is the most wild form of applying water to your fields, which is the most ancient method of applying water. What they do is that they create a ditch, as you can see in this figure. in this figure there is a ditch that is along the border of any given farm field. So from the farm field we attach several subsidiary ditches, and these subsidiary ditches will supply water to the fields. And there is no proper planning in this, based on the counter or based on the visual appearance or with the understanding of the farmer. He tries to do it. There is no proper technical aid to apply this kind of method. That's why it is called as wild flooding also. Border flooding or strip flooding. So you might have seen this. Let us go back to this slide and I'll show you. This is an example for strip flooding. So what happens here is, you can see that the entire farm is divided into several strips like this. Okay, so this strip will have a boundary within like this. Okay, so we'll construct a borders like this, levees. So this is the area on which the crops are grown. Okay, so this is the main supply ditch. From the main supply ditch the water is supplied on these strips. You can see a bit explanation in the 3D figure. So this is the main ditch. From the main ditch the water is supplied, and again it reaches another ditch at the end of the farm. Okay, so these are the strips along which the crops will be grown. Okay, so you might have seen in some movies. You need to imagine them how they look like, okay, in real. So that is what border flooding or strip flooding. So you can see here in this figure also, this is the strip along which the crops are grown. These are the ditches which are parallel to the strip, and this is the main ditch that we have. Okay, so the water is supplied from main ditch to these lateral ditches, and these ditches will supply water to this strip. Now going into the check flooding. In check flooding, again this is quite composition of the strip flooding and wild flooding. So this is the main ditch we have. These are some of the levees we have. So the water is supplied from this ditch to this ditch. Once the water is filled in this ditch, it reaches to, the water will start flowing into this ditch. So this entire farm is developed in that manner. Its contours, its levels are maintained so that the water is first supplied to first row of strips, and then the water will start flowing in the next strips. Okay, so this is what check flooding is. Like this we have basin flooding. You might have seen basin flooding in our areas also. So you can see in this figure. If it is not clear, you can see in this figure. This is the main ditch we have. Main ditch will be connected with several lateral supply ditches, and these water will supply to a particular area, a basin. Okay, so you can see this as basin. So those who have seen lemon farms where the lemons are grown, you can see that a basin like this is created, and water is supplied through ditches, or some water courses will be there to supply water to the lemon or any of the major plantation. If you go to any major plantation like mango trees or any other major plantation, there you will see such kind of basin flooding. Okay, so these basin flooding cannot be adopted for the crops like jowar, wheat, or any other crops. Okay, it can be only used in case of plantation. Now going with the furrow irrigation. Furrow irrigation, you might have seen this in case of vegetables. Okay, wherever the vegetable is grown, you could see this kind of method being applied. Okay, so what happens here is the crops are grown on the top of a ridge like this. Several ridges are made. As you can see in this figure, there are several ridges are made. On the ridge the crops are grown, and in the small valleys, here you can see in the small valleys the water is supplied. So this is what a furrow irrigation method is. Now going with the drip irrigation, we'll discuss about the drip irrigation in the next video. Okay, thank you.